Democrat Whip.
Mr. President, let me pick up where the Republican leader left off on air traffic controllers. The biggest, busiest airport in the United States is O'Hare, when you count both passengers and cargo traffic. And after the government reopened, I went to O'Hare and I met with the air traffic controllers. I've known them for years, dating back to the first government shutdown during President Trump's first administration. There are roughly 10,500 air traffic controllers nationwide in America. We need 14,000. So what does that mean if you're understaffed by that 40% figure? It means that those who are presently working work extraordinarily long hours. In fact, the normal routine at O'Hare with the air traffic controllers who manage that airport is to work 6 days out of 7, 10 hours each day. So one of the most stressful possible jobs in America, they are working 6 days a week, 10 hours a day. The stress was overwhelming. And I told them that with the closure of the government behind us, we have to do something, and I hope we agree on a bipartisan basis to do it quickly. We need not only more air traffic controllers, well-trained and ready to work, and that will take some time to find those people, but we also need new technology. We've waited too long. We've talked about this issue over and over again. It's time to do something. I want to salute those air traffic controllers. They've gone through a tough weekend with America traveling for Thanksgiving, and I know that many of them have worked hard to make sure that we're safe in our travels. So I want to echo the comments of the Republican leader that this is an issue that should not go away. It's an issue we should address. Mr. President, I want to start by acknowledging as well the horrific shooting of 2 National Guard members in Washington, D.C. last week. As was reported, 20-year-old Specialist Sarah Beckstrom tragically passed away on Thanksgiving Day, and 24-year-old Staff Sergeant Andrew Wolf remains in critical condition. We pray for his recovery, and as one nation, send our deepest condolences to the Beckstrom family. Now, whether or not you agree about the delegation of National Guard troops to Chicago or Washington or any other place, that is really beside the point. We should make a note today that this is an acknowledgement of the importance of the National Guard to America's defense at home and abroad many times. Time and again, those guardsmen, guardswomen, have served our country and served them well. Living proof of that statement is my colleague in Congress, Tammy Duckworth, who was injured in a helicopter incident over Iraq and today serves with me as my colleague in the Senate. She speaks for all of the members of the National Guard when she says they are dedicated to our nation and our states. There must be a full investigation into the attack on Sarah Beckstrom and Sergeant Andrew Wolf. I implore the President to lower the temperature on political rhetoric and try not to exploit this to demonize immigrants, including many who have been willing to make the ultimate sacrifice for our country. Instead, the President should work with Congress on common sense, evidence-proved strategies to reduce crime and reform our broken immigration system. My wife and I send our deepest condolences to the Beckstrom family, and we pray Staff Sergeant Wolf makes a full, speedy recovery. Mr. President, on an unrelated issue, last week families gathered around the table to give thanks and enjoy a plate or two of turkey, mashed potatoes, casserole, cranberry sauce, and more. Except this year, the Thanksgiving feast cost more than last year because of what? President Trump's economic policies are driving up the prices of groceries. The President claims the opposite, but that's not a fact. In a social media quote, President Trump said, "Prices for Thanksgiving dinner," he announced, "are now down 25% since 2024. Affordability," he said, "is a Republican stronghold." Does the President of the United States actually have any conversation with families who are shopping for groceries? Here's the truth. Costs are going through the roof because of President Trump and his MAGA policies. The American people know this. Recent polling from none other than Fox News shows that nearly 2/3 of Americans blame President Trump for higher prices. Fox News. Listen to my constituent Tria, who wrote to me from Chicago. After experiencing the sticker shock at a South Loop grocery store, she said, no matter if it's organic or not, it's still going to be an arm and a leg for it. It's like you're spending your soul on groceries, Tria says. Another constituent of mine, Esther, wrote, a loaf of bread costs us $4 and it looks like it's getting smaller. I know what she means. Tria and Esther aren't alone in their shared frustration. Working families across the country are feeling the squeeze at the checkout counter and are having to cut back on spending. The struggle has been exacerbated for several reasons. One of them being the president's massive cuts to the SNAP program, used to be known as food stamps. In his big, beautiful bill, not so beautiful, that will reduce or eliminate food assistance for more than 22 million families. This is America. This president gives $20 million to Argentina, but can't find the money for American citizen. Another is the administration's attacks on immigrant workers, which is fueling a labor shortage, hurting farmers in Illinois and across the nation who are already struggling and driving up prices on the products that they grow. Even President Trump's own Labor Department agrees, saying his war on immigrant workers is, quote, threatening the stability of domestic food production and prices. Now let's get to the bottom line here and be honest about it. The farmers in my state are great men and women. I thank them for what they do. When it comes to the political scene, after a lifetime of dealing with them, I know that they're very courteous and kind, come and see me with regularity, give me a lot of things to seriously consider, and usually vote for the other party. I get it. They're more conservative. They just don't see things politically the way I see it. But when you close the doors and there's no press around, and you ask them what's going on, they're scared to death. They see China stopping purchases of soybeans. Why is that important? Illinois is the #1 soybean producing state in the United States, and it's a major cash crop for farms all across the country. And when China stops buying, what do? Unfortunately, our buyers, like China, turn to other countries, and they use those countries as sources when they used to rely on us. That worries these farmers behind closed doors. They don't say much publicly. They don't like tariffs. They tell me that behind closed doors, too. They don't want to be open and public about their criticism of President Trump, but the tariffs are a tax that they know are going to make it difficult for them and their exporters and importers of important goods. In addition to all that, they need workers on the farm. It's a fact. Whether it's an orchard or a dairy farm or any other farm operation, many of them need workers on the farm. And there aren't a lot of local people volunteering for that job. The president's policies against immigrants not only is denying them the source of these workers, but is also creating an attitude in other joining countries that have served us in the past that it's too dangerous to come try to work in the United States. That's the reality. Nationwide, for example, the cost of a lot of basics just keep going up. Orange juice, up 29% compared to last year. Ground beef, 14%. Coffee, 26% more. None of these developments have occurred in a vacuum. They're a direct response to the president's chaotic tariff policies. He changes his mind every 15 minutes. Is it 10%? Is it 15%? Is it 100%? Wait a minute, the governor of Ontario just ran an ad during a baseball game. Let's raise the tariffs on products from Canada by 50%. Is that any way to run a country? Already families in Illinois have paid more than $700 just this year on average because of these policies. In a Supreme Court hearing on the legality of these tariffs last month, Justice Sotomayor said to the lawyers defending the president, quote, "You say tariffs are not taxes, but that's exactly what they are." Justice Sotomayor is absolutely right. We are paying for Donald Trump's failed economic agenda, an agenda which runs back and forth helter-skelter day by day. And the president recognizes it too, really. That's why a few weeks ago he watered down his own economic proposal when he suspended certain tariffs on bananas, coffee, beef, and clothing. You just can't keep up with him. Why backtrack? Because he knows that the voters and consumers in America are fed up with rising costs and place it by a factor of 2 to 1 at his feet. My source again, Fox News. The president sees the writing on the wall, and he's scrambling to undo the damage he's caused. but it's too little, too late unless he moves quickly and changes it dramatically. The damage goes beyond food prices. Thanks to this president, Americans are now confronting higher utility bills. Just ask him. On the campaign trail, the president promised to slash electricity prices in half. Drill, baby, drill. We'll take care of everything. It ain't working. On average, Illinois households are paying more than $1,500 annually for lights and heat in their home, up more than 15% from last year. Cause and effect. Under President Biden and with the support of Democratic Congress, we signed into law the Inflation Reduction Act. This historic law provided tax credits to help households and businesses install energy-efficient windows, insulation, HVAC, and solar panels to lower their bills. I know because I put solar panels on my home in Springfield. Our electric bill, our monthly bill, was cut dramatically because of that policy decision from the Biden administration. Earlier this year, President Trump and congressional Republicans scrapped these credits for solar energy with their so-called big, beautiful bill. So while utility bills go up, people who want to go to cheaper forms of sustainable energy, such as solar, are told the tax incentives are no longer there, just the opposite of what we should be doing. And then they went further, eliminating incentives for wind and solar projects, meaning fewer jobs and less power to the grid. It's supply and demand. Less power equals higher prices. And the consequences of these policies are already taking effect. According to the Century Foundation, past due utility balances have jumped 10% this year, 10% more than they were the year before. People can't afford to pay these utility bills. And just like snap cuts, Trump's energy policies harm those already struggling the most. One example, his budget proposal calls to eliminate LIHEAP, a program that helps millions of low-income Americans pay their energy bills on time. Between the sky-high cost of rent, groceries, and utilities, Americans are being hit from all sides. The president has recently floated $2,000 tariff rebate checks as an idea. Not only are these checks unlikely to see the light of day, but the hole he has put American families in is far greater than $2,000. The American people see right through the Donald Trump scheme, and they know that the sole reason they're facing higher prices is because of his policies. While Republicans ignore higher costs at their own peril, Democrats are still going to keep fighting to lower costs for the American people. Madam President, we know that there is an opportunity that's going to come before the Senate in just a few days to do something about the high cost of health insurance premiums. I'm hearing it back home. People understand what's happening. They're getting notices about what these premiums are going to be as of the first of the year. Some 24 million Americans are affected by the big, beautiful budget bill of Donald Trump and the elimination of these tax credits. It's time for us to do something for American families that makes a difference. Help them pay their health insurance. For goodness sakes, that should be a high priority, not only for the Senate, because it's a high priority for every family. I hope that we can work on a bipartisan basis to extend these tax credits and to make sure that the American people understand both Democrats and Republicans can work together to solve this problem. I think some want to on the other side of the aisle. We should do that in a spirit of bipartisanship.